Welcome. You're listening to This Leader, the podcast. If you lead people and are seeking the transformational, high-impact secrets that will lead to greater joy and fulfillment in your work, will optimize your team performance, and will help you create a happy, highly productive workplace, then you are this leader and you're in the right place. I'm your host, Claire Laughlin, and each week my guests and I will explore the mindsets, techniques, and actionable strategies that will help you build the career, team, and organization of your dreams. Because I believe no one should have to suffer in a dysfunctional workplace. Let's get started. Hi, friends. Welcome back to This Leader. I want to start today by sharing a little story about a short little road trip. I want you to picture this. I'm in the passenger seat with my husband. Okay, we're on the highway. Everything's fine. Sun's out, nice day. We're heading out to go camping. And then there it is. A car driving in the fast lane, but not fast. Okay. And I watch my husband. Okay. Because now the two lanes are kind of blocked and he can't get around this slow person who's driving in the fast lane. So I'm watching my husband. His jaw tightens up a little bit. His hands sort of tighten on the wheel. And he starts narrating. He's like, why? Why are they in the left lane? This always happens on this road. I swear, people don't know how to drive. This is the fast lane. So it amps up from there, right? Now, meanwhile, I'm a passenger. This does not bother me nearly as much. I know that this happens. I simply tell myself that we're all trying to get safely to our destination, right? Later on this same trip, we stop at the market to get some food for our overnighter, okay? As I walk through the store, I can feel my blood pressure rising by the price of everything. Eggs, $9. Like, really? A block of cheese, $12. Ice was almost $20. We paid almost $20 for ice. But my husband, he is completely unbothered by this. The grocery bill, that is my thing. I walk into the store, I see the total at checkout, and something in me just spikes. Same weekend trip, same life that we share, but completely different stress triggers, right? And here's what I find so fascinating about that. Neither of us is reacting to something that we can actually do anything about right at the moment, right? That driver in the fast lane, not changing. The price of groceries, not going down today. But we are both kind of lit up, activated. So let me ask you a question. What is your thing? Because we all have one, right? Or let's be honest, we all have many. Several. Today, we're going to talk about stress and reactivity. And specifically, we're going to talk about the ways that we participate in creating our own stress. The ways we feed it, rehearse it, amplify it, and then wonder why we feel exhausted at the end of the day. This episode is not about pretending that everything's okay or pretending that things aren't hard, because things genuinely are hard in many ways for many people right now. But it is about something I think is one of the most important and underappreciated leadership skills there is: becoming proactive instead of reactive. So let's get into it. So, your thing, right? For some people, it's the office mate. You know this person. Maybe you are this person. There's that one coworker who has the habit of, say, leaving their dishes in the sink or in the break room, right? And every time you walk in and you see any dish at all, you're already certain that you know whose it is. And it feels somehow personal. Like a small act of disrespect directed specifically at you. For someone else, it's the news. They get up every single morning, they make their coffee, they sit down, and they feed themselves a diet of the worst possible headlines before they've even said good morning to another human being. And then they head into their day carrying all of that negativity, and they wonder why they're so tired. I mean, they have an axe to grind before 8 a.m., and they're curious as to why they're so exhausted. Or here's another one I heard recently. It's the parking lot. There aren't enough spaces for everyone, wherever, at the office, at the gym, whatever it is. And honestly, this has somehow become a symbol. It's a sign. They don't respect us. They don't care. We're not a priority, something like that. Another one, the office window, the window office, or the office with a window, right? Someone has that window. Maybe it's someone with less seniority than you. You don't have it. Every time you walk past it, something in you quietly tallies that on the invisible scoreboard as evidence of something that deserves our attention and something that steals our peacefulness. I don't know what yours is, but we all have our things, right? And here's the insight I want to offer you today. It's not the dish. It's not the slow driver. It's not the price of groceries. It's not the window. It's not the lack of parking spaces. Whatever it is, it's the story we are telling ourselves about all of it, especially about those things over which we have no control. Because here's what I notice. I notice this in myself, in my clients, in the culture at large. There is a very common habit of what I call loading ourselves or taking the bait, okay? We find that trigger. We find that thing, our trigger thing, and we feed it. It's like feeding the beast. We rehearse it in our heads. We share it at the dinner table. We like people who have common, frustrations and anxieties. We bring it up over and over. We say, "Can you believe that?" And we have a moment of joy as everyone around our circle, resonates with indignation. And every time we retell it, we actually re-experience the stress of it a little bit. We are quite literally choosing to activate our own stress response over and over about something that happened hours ago. All right? And now, layer on top of that the cultural story that we all seem to be sharing right now. I mean, how many times in the last week have you heard someone say, things are just so hard right now? Maybe you've said it yourself. I have. I said it earlier in this podcast. But I want to be really careful here because I'm not dismissing that. Things are challenging. Rising cost of living is real. Workplace pressures are real. The pace of change can feel relentless and exhausting. And I'm not going to stand here and tell you that, you should just think positive thoughts and everything will be fine. But I am going to tell you this. When you say to yourself, things are so hard right now, and you repeat that enough times, it becomes a lens through which you see. It becomes the thing that we look through before we've even opened our email in the morning. It becomes a forecast for your day. And when you walk into your day expecting that to be your experience, expecting that there's an enemy around every corner, you will find evidence for that everywhere. Your brain will find it because that's what our brains do. We look for confirmation of the story that we've already adopted. So the first question I want you to ask today is not, how do I get rid of my stress? It's different. It's, what story am I telling myself, and is it serving me? So we've named the problem. All right. Now let's talk about how to catch it in the act. Because here's the thing. Your brain can be telling you a story for a while before your conscious mind even knows it's happening. But your body is not slow. Your body knows. Think about your own experience. What does stress feel like for you physically? For me, I know it's like a tightening of my chest. It's a tension that creeps into my jaw. Like I'm holding back my words. I want to say something, but I don't know what it is yet. I know I'm loading up on stress when I start to feel that feeling. All right? For some people, it's a tightness in the neck and shoulders. For others, it's a feeling in the gut. If you've listened to our earlier episodes on somatic and emotional awareness, you'll remember that the nervous system is running its own quiet program in the background. It's assessing threat, scanning for safety, and it's doing this constantly and largely without our permission. So there's a concept, and we talked about this in an earlier episode with Ryan Gottfredson, and it's called the window of tolerance. I love his view of this. Think of that as like your window of tolerance being the bandwidth in which you can function well. You're what we call regulated. Your nervous system is regulated. You can think clearly. You can respond thoughtfully. You can have a real conversation. So that window of tolerance, it may be different for everyone, but for all of us, one thing is the same. When we load up on stress, it narrows our window of tolerance. We get less tolerant. Small things start to feel like big things. A slightly short email or something you don't quite understand from your boss starts to feel like a threat. A scheduling change starts to feel like chaos. When our window narrows, we lose access to the best version of ourselves, the version that's calm and curious and capable, and reactive leadership takes over. So, the practice of noticing and paying attention to what's happening in your body, it's a skill. It's not passive. You have to train yourself to pay attention. So, the most powerful starting place, again, it's simple. Check in with your body. What does it feel like in there right now? Just pause right now. Where is the tension? Are you breathing fully or is your breath shallow? Are your shoulders up around your ears? Is your jaw tight? What is happening in your body? I have been practicing this body awareness for decades, and I kind of stay in my head a lot, right? So I need to practice. I still miss it sometimes. Well, actually, often. But when I do catch it, and I do notice every day now because I do check in, but when I do notice that something is loading up, like I'm starting to get that tight feeling, it reminds me I have a choice. And choice is where my power is. Okay, before we get into the tools, I want to tell you about something I built specifically for leaders like you. One of the things I hear most often from the leaders I work with is this. They'll say, I know I need to grow. I just don't know where to start or how to do it with everything else I have going on. And I hear that. I really do, because here's the truth. So much of the stress we carry as leaders comes from this vague sense that we don't know where to start. That we're reacting to things, but we don't have a plan or a path, that we're ping-ponging between demands, being pulled in so many directions. And we don't have clarity on who we are as leaders, what we're actually trying to accomplish right now, all kinds of things. So that's exactly what Evolve was designed to address. Evolve is my leadership development platform. It's a place where leaders come to build the skills that will actually move the needle. Not theory, not fluff, the real stuff. You're going to build clarity on your values. You're going to figure out who you are as a leader. You're going to build strong, high-trust relationships with your team. You're going to clarify your goals. You're going to learn to manage performance and so much more. And here's the thing. Being proactive about your own development, it is not a luxury. It's the antidote to that reactive, loaded up, constantly on edge leadership pattern that burns people out. If you're ready to stop reacting and start leading with intention and clarity and with agency, I want to invite you to check out Evolve at clairelaughlin.com/evolve. Okay, let's get back to the tools. So, you've noticed now. You did your body scan. Your body gave you the signal. Now what? This is where I want to be really direct with you, because this is the part that trips people up. That regulation, that nervous system regulation, it doesn't necessarily happen quickly or automatically, especially if you're loading yourself with stress. You have to actively choose it. And that can feel counterintuitive, because when we're activated, when we're stressed, irritated, spinning out, it can actually feel like calming down means that we're minimizing the problem, right? There's something kind of like, oh, if I'm really ramped up about this, then somehow I'm going to be able to change it, or my reaction is in alignment with how bad the problem is, So there's maybe some guilt or something around minimizing the problem, like we're letting someone or something off the hook, or like we're pretending things are fine when they're not. Something that doesn't sit right about that. So it gives us an excuse to stay ramped up. But here's a different perspective, my friend. This is not really what's happening. Regulating your own nervous system is not the same as minimizing the problem. Regulating is a strategic choice that I am asking you to make so that you can access the best version of yourself, so that you can think clearly, lead well, and actually do something useful about the thing that is bothering you. So, here are some of the tools I want to recommend. Some of these are simple, and I want to offer the real reason they work, not just the instruction, okay? First, there's a breathing technique called 4-7-8 breathing. This has been developed and extensively studied by Dr. Andrew Weil. Here's how you do it. You inhale for 4 counts, you hold for 7 counts, and you exhale powerfully but slowly for 8 counts, okay? Here's why it works. A long, slow exhale activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch of your nervous system that's responsible for rest and recovery and calm. That exhale literally tells your nervous system, we're okay. The threat has passed. Your heart rate slows a little bit. Cortisol starts to drop a little bit. You are not doing this to pretend that things are fine. You are doing this to get yourself back to a state where you can be responsive, where you can choose your response instead of being reactive. I do this at least twice a day. I do it in my car before I walk into a meeting. I do it at the end of my workday before I walk back in the house and connect with my family. Honestly, it takes about 30 seconds and it works. It is well worth your time and it's an easy habit to build. So it's 4-7-8 breathing. Take 4 breaths. Do it twice a day. Try it for a month and see the difference it makes. It's amazing. Second, move your body. If you don't have time for a full workout, that is not an excuse not to move your body. Take a walk around the block or out to the mailbox and back or, down the hall and back. Stand up, shake out your hands. There's a physiological reason for this. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline were designed to fuel physical action, right? You all heard this, like you see a saber-toothed tiger, you gotta run. Your body is designed to fuel the action. When you physically move, you're helping your body metabolize the stress chemicals. You're doing what your nervous system was built to do with those hormones, okay? So I want you to try this. Like, you'd be amazed at how simply something like wiggling or skipping down the block. I've actually heard that, one cannot be unhappy while they're skipping. So I love skipping. Try it. Do a few jumping jacks. It can change your entire outlook, but make a commitment to move your body. I've actually heard one of the people that I follow online, he talks about it as snacking on exercise. You need a snack? Get up and move your body, okay? Take an exercise snack break. Okay, third technique. This one is grounding. Sounds almost too simple, but I come back to it again and again. Just feel your feet on the ground. Press your feet down. Press your feet down, Notice the sensation of your body in the chair if you're sitting, or just of your feet on the ground if you're standing or whatever. Take one breath, look around the room, and name 5 things you can see. What this does is it pulls you into the present moment. Like, pay attention, feel your feet on the ground, look around the room. What do you see? I see a green wall. I see a light. I see a Peloton bike. So that's what is around me in the present moment. Stress almost always lives in the past. Like, I can't believe they did that again, right? Or it lives in the future. What if this keeps happening? Even in the case I gave you before, where my husband is upset about the driver right in front of us, which feels like it's a present moment thing, a lot of that stress is probably anchored to the idea that we will not get to our destination as fast as he would like, right? So it's sort of a future orientation. But the present moment is almost always manageable, okay? So grounding, doing this practice of grounding yourself, it anchors you in the present moment. And here's a little bonus. If you can, touch your bare feet to actual grass or sand or even gravel. That's going to give you a boost physiologically. All right, fourth, your morning routine as protection, not just a habit. If you've been here with me for a little while, you might remember an episode I did called Love Letter to Life, where I talked about my morning routine a little bit.
The morning routine I have is simple, but it has been a game changer for me. And I want to help you reframe how you think about your morning routine, if you have one, or if you have one that you tend to skip, or if you don't have one yet. Your morning routine is not just a nice way to start your day, it's a container that keeps your window of tolerance wider so that when stressors hit, and they will, you have more room. You have a wider window of tolerance. My friends, do your meditation, do your movement, do your journaling, do your quiet moments outside with your feet in the grass, looking at the sun. Even a few minutes of stillness before the day's demands begin. These are not luxuries. I mean, they feel luxurious, but they are infrastructure. I want you to think about it as infrastructure. This is a really important set of skills that, I don't know, I feel like some people blow it off because they feel like it should be reserved for somebody else, somebody who's more special. I don't know. But one thing I want to really name here, and this is where that leadership lens really comes back in, when you choose to build structures into your life to keep yourself regulated, you don't just help yourself. You change the temperature of the room. You positively impact everyone around you. We've talked many times about emotional contagion on this podcast, and the research is clear that emotions spread between people the way a cold spreads. Your team members are reading you all the time. Your nervous system state, your state of how regulated or unregulated you are, it is contagious. And when you walk into a room all activated and loaded up, the people around you feel it and they take some of that as well. But when you walk in grounded, calm, curious, they have permission and a model to be grounded too. So remember, you are not just regulating yourself. You're regulating the culture around you, your team, your family, the people you come into contact with. Do the world a gift, okay? Give the world a gift. Regulate. Take good care. Okay, now I want to step back from the tools for a moment because I don't want this to just be a how-to, how to manage your stress episode. I want you to understand that this is about how to be as a leader, how to be, because tools are just tools, okay? You can know all the breathing techniques in the world and all the grounding practices and morning routines, okay? But if you personally don't have a foundational philosophy about who you want to be in the face of difficulty, the tools won't stick. You won't prioritize them. You'll give yourself an excuse. You'll skip it. Sure, maybe you'll use the tools when things are fine and you're not stressed out and you've got plenty of time, but you'll abandon them exactly when you need them most. So let me share a reframe that I think is at the center of all this. A lot of our stress comes from a vague sense of being at war with some invisible enemy that we can't actually fight, okay? Think about it, right? The slow driver, the grocery bill, the dishes in the common area, the parking lot without enough space. These are not problems we can solve at this exact moment. There's no action available to us that will change any of these things right now. But here's the trap. Our brain doesn't distinguish between threats we can do something about and threats we can't. Okay? It just activates. And so we engage in what I think of as like ceaseless striving. It's kind of a low grade, constant effort to control things that are genuinely outside of our control. And it is exhausting because there is no resolution. You can't win. The thing doesn't change. And so the stress just cycles. Okay. But here's the flip side. And this is where it gets really interesting. There are many things that we can influence if we put our energy there. So, okay, I'll just give you an example. You might say, no, I can't change the cost of eggs in the marketplace, but I can go to a different market, or I can choose to drive out to a farm to try to find a better price. There may be a way that I can get around that. Okay, I can buy different eggs. There are things I can do. Instead of being upset about that dish that's always in the sink in the common area in the break room, you could post a sign, make it friendly. That's my little plug. You could post a sign. You could file a grievance if it was that bad, or you could just wash the dish and use it as a meditation. Instead of being angry about slow drivers, we could have left earlier that day. We could have left early enough to avoid having to deal with any traffic at all, So there are, of course, things that could be done in a big sense of the word. But at the moment, we were just in it. But the same thing is true for our leadership frustration. So imagine this. Let's say you're a little activated by a team member who appears disengaged or who doesn't show up with a sense of ownership, and it just sort of grates on you, okay? Maybe you're a little activated by meetings that just fall flat. You are trying your darndest to run a good meeting, and people aren't showing up, or they're not turning on their cameras, or they're not doing their pre-work or something, right? Or maybe you have this feeling that your career's bouncing you around like a pinball because you're not sure where to take yourself next, Now, these are things that you have real agency over. But when we're spending all of our energy in a reactive state, fighting things that we can't control, we don't have anything left for what we can control. That is the real cost of doing this, of jumping into this habit that I call feeding the beast. So the philosophy I want to invite you into is this. Become someone who actively, intentionally tends to themselves, okay? Tend to yourself. Tend to your stress level. This is not an indulgence. It is a leadership practice. And if you want to be a leader, you must take care of yourself first. We've all heard this expression, put on your own oxygen mask first, right? Well, we have to do this with our stress levels. That means all the small things that we've talked about. It means knowing how to take care of yourself in the moment with some deep breathing or some grounding exercises or something. It means monitoring your body reactions. It means monitoring your self-talk. It means focusing on the things that you can control. And you know what else it means? Taking those vacation days. I'll say this directly. I'm a business owner. There's not a good time to take a vacation when you run your own business or when you lead a high-stakes team or project. I've had to sit with this myself many times. There'll always be a project in flight or a deadline coming or a situation that needs your attention, always. And if you wait for the perfect time, you will wait forever. But taking your vacation anyway, it's sort of that active philosophy. It says, I believe my recovery and being my best self is non-negotiable. I believe that I will come back better from this vacation. I believe that my team needs to learn to function without me for a period of time. And that's good for everyone. I believe that me showing up at my best is good for all of us. All right? So take your vacation time. Very important. Take some time away. It also means protecting your friendships and your time with family. The research on social connection as a stress buffer is extensive and clear. But beyond the research, these are the relationships that remind you what you're doing all this for. They're the antidote to the feeling of isolation that high pressure can create. They keep you human in the midst of everything that tries to turn you into, a role or a title or a function. And it means, and this is the one I want to close on, choosing what you put your attention on. Remember, there's a lot of things we're not in control of, but we are astonishingly in control of where we direct our attention, what stories we rehearse, what words we utter, what we choose to amplify, and what we choose to let go. The morning news diet, like, the dish in the sink, the driver in the fast lane, the cost of groceries. You can notice these things. You can even feel the spike in your body. And then you can make a choice. Not because the thing isn't real, but because you have decided at a foundational level that you are not going to let the things you cannot control take up your energy and the bandwidth that you need for the things that you can control. That, my friend, is proactive leadership. That is exercising your personal agency, and that needs to be a habit. So let me bring you back to that road trip, okay? To the highway, particularly, right? My husband and the slow driver, me and the grocery bill. Neither of us could control what triggered us at the moment. You know, our triggers, they're kind of wired in a sense, although I really do believe you can minimize those over time. They're personal, they're real, but we both had a choice about what to do next. And here's the truth. The leaders who change the most, the ones who build the teams that they actually want to lead, the ones that build the organizations that thrive, the ones that build cultures that people want to be a part of, those leaders do not have any fewer stressors than I do or than you do. They have made a commitment and they've practiced and they've made the daily choice to stop feeding the beast, right? So if you say to yourself, things are so hard right now, maybe they are. And that's true, right? And you get to decide where you put your attention every single day. So that's your invitation today. Now, if you're ready to take this from a concept into a committed practice, please join me in Evolve. That's what Evolve was built for. It's where leaders are coming to do the real work, to build clarity, to develop skills that matter, and to become a more intentional and proactive leader. You can learn more. You can start your journey at clairelaughlin.com/evolve. I would love to see you in there. Thanks for listening today. If this episode landed for you, please share it with another leader who needs to hear it. We deeply appreciate your comments, your connection, and your willingness to keep showing up. Until next week, go lead the way.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode. To learn more about my services and for lots of free resources and additional tools to enrich your journey, visit my website and subscribe to my newsletter at clairelaughlin.com. If you have a question about leadership, teams, or organizational culture you'd like me to address on the podcast, please reach out to me at support@clairelaughlin.com and connect with me on social channels @ClaireLaughlin Consulting. Until next time, lead the way.